this program to bring you a special report.
Hi. Just a quick note before we start the episodes. I know I've been off for around 10 days or so. I've been under the weather and there have been some scheduling problems. However, things after Ramadan should really pick up, scheduling becoming easier with, the place's working hours. For now, there's this episode and the next episode is already being brewed, and I really hope you enjoy it. Let's see.
Do you ever believe what they say on TV? What made you deceive? Have you ever trusted in a system that's down?
Hi Assaad, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
All good. So Bullfunk Zoo. Recently heard about you, it really grabbed my attention, and honestly, living here all my life, I've never knew there was a music scene in the country.
Okay.
So what got you started into music here?
Growing up here, well, I can tell you I was born and raised in Dubai, and what got me into music, I was really young. I saw a Kiss rock video on TV. I was 4 and I was scared of it, but it looked awesome. So it's like, that's what I want to do. So I knew it since I was a kid. And growing up in Dubai, we didn't have much access, but we had a lot of Thompson original tapes back then. So I'd always buy music according to cover because you couldn't hear them. I got into a lot of rock. But initially I grew up with a lady who raised me like my own mom, and she used to listen to a lot of Motown, James Brown, all of this good stuff, which I really loved. I didn't know it was going to affect me later on in my years. When I was young, I was like, okay, cool, I like the rock and stuff, but then it was always so embedded. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into music. Got a couple of piano lessons, that was this thing, but it was helpful in a theoretical term, but I wanted to play this. So
That took scooter.
well, yeah, I like it because it's rock, it's predominantly guitar. But really the main thing for me is always about composition and writing. This is just a tool to get that across. I know I jumped the gun very much so. But yeah, I grew up in Dubai. I lived in the US throughout the 90s, where my music development, after I graduated high school here, went to the US, and that's when I really took this a lot seriously. I was 16, went to Boston, then to Minneapolis, and between Minneapolis and Chicago. And that's where I really picked up music big time. Because there was a scene there and stuff, so when I was young, asking people, what do you do, how do you do this, how do you do that? We didn't have YouTube at that time, obviously.
Well, yeah.
So all the music, listen, try to play it, it was all about that.
Did you ever, when you were 16, did you ever imagine yourself you will ever get into music this much? You will actually...
Yeah, I knew it when I was young. I knew it from a very young age that this is what I will
So
always
you're
do.
determined.
Yeah, I've always been like that though. Anything I ever did was, well, why get into something if you're not going to do it all the way,
That's actually a very
that's
good point.
that's
And I know
my
a lot
motto.
of people who decide on something, get excited about it for 2 or 3 weeks, they know themselves, and then they stop. So you didn't start with Bullfunk Zoo, you started with something else.
No. Yeah, I've had many projects throughout the years. So obviously when I was young in Dubai, I didn't do so much music because I was really into skateboarding a lot. So that was an obsession I had. But I loved music. The only thing is, my parents wouldn't let me play because I wasn't good at school, and I never liked school. So when I was like 12 or so, I had a friend who gave me his guitar, and I used to hide it in places and go try to play it or figure out how the hell this thing works. Because I knew if my old man would find out, I wouldn't do the schooling, which I didn't do anyway. But I managed to graduate, which was a good thing. And then I went to the US, and when I went to the US, I worked full-time jobs, and going to college and doing music. So when I was 16, I worked in petrol stations, pumping gas. So that was a good stepping stone coming from Dubai, because the world is real. Here wasn't so real at that time. And I worked many jobs, factories and all of this stuff, hourly, the usual, funding myself, my music, and university. Because all I went from here to the US was only $4,000. And my mom was like, sort out the rest Okay.
دبر راسك.
Dabbar Rasak. So when I bought my official first guitar, I was 16. I was getting paid nothing because under the table you're not really allowed to work as an international student.
Yeah.
So I had an uncle of mine who lived at our own gas station who'd pay me, but he'd only pay me, I'd work about 6 days a week. 5 of them would be 8 hours, the 6 one would be 12-hour days. I'm going to university at that time. And for 2 weeks of those hours of work, I'd only get $60.
Ouch.
You know, but luckily for me, he let me stay at his place in the basement.
Well,
so
yeah,
that's how I live.
يعني-
Yeah. So ما في ربح تجميلي. So I told him, you know, don't tell me you lived here because you know you charge me a lot of money here. So it took me about 6 months to buy my first. It was $100 electric used one, which I wish I still had. I lost that one. It's whatever. Anyway, I started that way. And then I have a good friend of mine in Boston, his name is Patrick Burke, and I used to like punk rock and metal and all of this stuff, and I discovered punk rock there because the energy and stuff. It's not what I do now, but and we started a punk rock band. If I tell you the band's name, maybe it's not good, but anyway, so yeah, we were kids, just
We'll bleep it.
booping our called pregnant nuns, that's what we call each other. We were just nutcases having fun and doing that. And at that time, you know, I was really into, you know, the metal and Megadeth and the Anthrax and all that at the younger age. And then I discovered, you know, like people like Hendrix and Stevie Vai, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know. But at the same time, in the background, the funk was coming out. Well, it wasn't, I was always out with me. I just like ignored it. But how that influenced me again is when I went to buy that first guitar. It was a shop called Daddy's Junkie Music. It's a famous store in Boston in front of Berklee College of Music. I don't know if you've heard this school. It's a very famous music
Yeah.
school. So I used to go there dreaming, oh, I wish I could go to the school, you know, but I didn't know shit.
You look
And
across
Daddy's
the
Junkie
street.
Music was across the street, and they had the basement floor with all the used instruments. So I remember when I went down there, I was like, finally, I got the money. It was like, I had $150 because I bought a small amp. So it was $100 and $150. I went in there and they were blasting James Brown on the speakers. I'm like, oh, I remember this. This is pretty cool. But when I heard it with the subs and stuff, I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
You know, so I went back to that. But at the same time, I also discovered jazz. And anyway, I lived a year in Boston, and then I moved to Minneapolis because Boston was too expensive for me to live. So I went to Minneapolis. I had friends that said, come check it out. It's a small town. Am I talking too much? Am I going over it?
Go ahead, by all means.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so yeah, again, going to uni. I didn't like uni. I was studying marketing, which, you know, just any
I
degree.
relate.
And I didn't really like it. You know, I never liked the whole academia world and stuff. But it was fun. I learned a lot because of work and being responsible and all of this shit. You know, and throughout the years, I mean, yes, my parents did help me with a bit of tuition money, which was good. But I was always working a full-time job, which taught me a lot because you get to meet people from all kinds of backgrounds and all of this.
You learn
ne-
responsibility. You learn to depend on yourself.
Yeah, and then obviously during this time I was there, I met so many, you know, musicians, bands, and stuff like that, which was awesome. And I was working and practicing a lot at that time. I mean, whenever I had the chance, if I had 10 hours a day, I would sit and work on it. Never really had formal lessons, but people I listened to a lot for, you know, I never took guitar lessons. I took like music lessons from like sax players, piano players, bass players, drummers.
Bullfunk Zoo. When did it start? When was it born? What nights you were sleepless and thought about it?
So right before Bullfunk Zoo, I've had many projects. I've had bands like Abstract Collision, Abstract Roots, Moist Luscious, Arcology. I've performed in a lot of different bands, been a session player on their albums and stuff. Bullfunk Zoo I created in 2012. So right before 2012, I was asked to join Abri, a famous band here. His name's Hamdan Abri. He's a famous singer, who my brother was part of the band. Their keyboardist left to Brazil, so they asked me to replace him on guitar. They were doing big shows and a very talented artist. he's quite well known now. So after that was happening, their band kind of not deteriorated, but Julian, who's the keyboardist, went to Brazil, and their drummer went back to the UK, and my brother was hanging around. He was pursuing other stuff. So we did a lot of shows together. Before that, obviously, there was a lot of projects, but I'm just getting to the Bullfrog Zoo bit. So me and Hamdan became quite close friends. And at that time I was working in NBC television, so my background of work is a lot of television work and all of this stuff. And I kind of got tired of it, I became a studio director and all, and I just got bored of television and film. I just wanted to go back into music. During that time I've already made like 4 or 5 albums of different projects. One was Abstract Collision and all that. I said, okay, I need to do music full-time, the stuff I want to do. So also during NBC times I was playing with different bands, session player, whatever, all of this stuff. It wasn't fulfilling for me. It was a great learning experience, of course. Every day you learn. Now, coming back to Bullfrog Zoo, so I spoke to Hamdan and was like, okay, what's going on now? I'm going to create this band called Bullfrog Zoo, and you want to be a part of it. So what we'll do is we'll do the corporate thing, all the covers and whatnot, but the covers that we love to do, and I'd rearrange them differently, from the Marleys to the Princes to the James Brown, I'd rearrange it completely differently. Get a bunch of shows, but of course in the back of my mind I have a project I want to do with this band, and a great way to record is to see how you feel out with the different musicians. I've had many different musicians in my bands. It's always been like that because I always like different flavors and stuff like that. It's never been really a set band. So with Hamdan at that time, Abri, doing his thing, he started the Bullfrog Zoo, and it kicked off big time at that time. Obviously because he was popular and he's an amazing singer, and we had really good chemistry performing together, which was good. So we got residencies everywhere. We opened up for Sade when she came. I opened up for Sting as well with the Bullfrog Zoo, and we did a lot of big shows around with that. Obviously that time was the original music, but prior to that we do a lot of residencies, and people were in high demand, alhamdulillah, at that time. Sometimes we get 2 shows a day, one in Abu Dhabi, one in Dubai, and blah blah blah, all of this stuff.
Must be tiring.
Huh? No, it was fun. I like hard work, I don't mind it. So it was good. Then I released the first self-titled album, which is Bullfrog Zoo, which is Hamdan's the main singer on this, and had different musicians. So it was all recorded live. Right after this album, we started getting less and less bookings. To my knowledge, we're finding out that these people who used to book us all the time thought, okay, we got an album out, they're going to be expensive. I don't know if that's how they thought of it or whatever. I'm like, guys, we're still here, we need to make money, Doesn't mean we put an album out or down from the corporate scene. Anyway, eventually that kind of simmered down. In a way, it was a very good thing. And then I wanted to kind of move on different projects. Band members left in and out. It's always been very transient. So then I decided in 2016, I was a bit baffled. I was like, what do I do now? I was never a singer. I know how to write melodies. I write for everybody. Like all the songs on that, I write all the parts.
But you never tried singing?
And I never really cared for it. I mean, till this day, I'm not really interested in singing. I just have to do it, So these are the last 2 albums, Dangerous Radio and Down and Dirty. The reason why they sound so heavy is because, okay, I can only sing like this, so I have to write music which I like, obviously, that kind of matches that. And so I started doing these shows. Gorgon Assaad, he does these festivals called Desert Experiment. He hired different musicians, but they come and feature there. And he'd always get me on there, and it was a lot of fun playing with many people the whole night. And then he'd ask me, can you play some Hendrix covers and when you sing? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I'd do it, the Doors or something like that. But for me, in my head, I never took my singing seriously. I still don't, to be honest with you. For me, it's all about
playing
everything else, It's about composition, really. I love, obviously, this. So he's like, why don't you sing on the album? I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I should do that. So during all these years, I've always been recording as well. So I've opened up recording studio here in the early years when I came back from the US in 2000 to Dubai. And I started learning a lot of recording techniques and studios and stuff and all that, because I just needed a medium to be able to portray what we're doing. It's kind of like to document. That's what recording is. Of course, there's a lot of sciences, and then throughout the years, I learned very well how to engineer and all of that with a lot of practice and recording and all that. So I had my studio, you know, set it up pretty well, brushed off and tuned up how the skills go in. And then I made the Dangerous Radio all by myself. I was like, okay. The reason why I did that, because it's in today's world, it's very hard to rely on other people. Come record this, come record that. But for me, it's a lot easier. Like you know, a bass part or obviously guitar parts or piano parts, I can play them. And if I need to wait for, and I basically in the end, I'm gonna need to tell them what to play as well, but also with their own flavor if they have. But he's like, oh, I'll be free next week. Okay, so why would I wait a week when I can finish it now in 5 minutes? That's what I did. That album, I programmed all the drums, you know, rhythm and stuff like that. I made them sound good. Dangerous Radio. I always liked live drums though. And then I sang on the so songs are a lot about socio-political. Some things, a lot of them have actually meanings of movements. Because I always believe like we live in a world of sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. And I have a lot of political beliefs or historical beliefs. Now I'm out of it because I can't be bothered with all that headache. Okay, I can't change the world. Nobody can change the world. This whole bullshit about you can change the world, blah, blah, blah. First change yourself. That's my thing. So, and the only medium I can get across to say how it kind of like, how my point of view is through music, the best way. And like it's been done for many years. It's not like something new I'm doing. But I figured, let me write something that's meaningful and effectful for this. So that's how Dangerous Radio came about. Even with the first one, you know, that one more about, there's a lot of things about environment, you know, social environment and all of this stuff.
The first.
My eyes in a stunning glaze, she was a wild thing and
I listened to all the 3 albums intently, song by song. So the lyrics are written by most. So for
Which
example,
one?
Down and Dirty.
That's everything me.
That's all of it too.
Oh, except one song,
Fikrak?
Fikrak, yeah. So Fikrak, actually I wrote lyrics to it in English. I did it in English and Arabic, and how that song came about. I mean, the music, for me it's about the music in that song, more than the lyrics. The lyrics are great too. But it's about the style of playing, because I was trying to get this fusion of a little hint of Eastern and rock and swing and all of that. I don't know if you can hear it in there.
There is one song actually that I really loved that had that exact mix. I can't remember which one was it, but there is one specific song that I really loved that had it had Eastern, it had a bit of electronic and rock at the same time. The vocals mainly. It sounded like a bit of Linkin Park-esque.
No, please, I don't complain.
Wait,
to that.
I know. Hey.
Hey. Hey, I sampled Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream.
Yeah.
That's a very important song, that Hey.
Yeah, I love.
So Hey is interesting because the rest of the album, I wrote all the drums and wrote everything in there. I have some musicians featured on this one as well. But the drummer, I found a drummer in the US who became good friends, fantastic drummer. And then he got to play all the drums on the record, which was awesome. Hey is programmed, and Hey was a song I had on the shelf for a few years. The rest was all newer stuff, but I always had an affiliation with that song. I never released it because it got that electro thing. So the reason why I put Martin Luther King's speech in there, because I'm a big fan of Martin Luther. My English thesis paper in university in Boston was about Martin Luther King, and I love this vibe and all that. So, and I Have a Dream. What he says in there is great. So I said, I really like the speech, and I kind of want to do something with it, and experiment with electronic, because it's a lot of electronic. But the funny part is, in that song, if you hear all the effects, as effects, people think it's synths and stuff. It's like, no, it's all guitar.
Yeah.
But I manipulated the guitar in a way to make things sound like that, so, which is really cool, And I was like, just experimenting with something different. So, Hey was a time when I wrote it when the world was going into a lot of turmoil. politically, especially in the Middle East, and what's happening. So, and what's happening in this world in general. You know, with the I don't want to get deep into this because I got out of that mindset because
It gets tiring.
It gets tiring. It gets very depressing, and it gets, especially for me, it gets very frustrating. So that's why I put them into songs because I know I can't do anything. What
It's an
can you do?
outlet.
It's nice to go and give charity and stuff, but really the initial thing is to actually be there in person to help these people. Because even when you give charity, which I've done, you know, monetarily, but you don't. It's in the end. I don't want to do it to fulfill myself, but to help others. This is what we are here for. So the only way I could do it that way. And then I stopped watching news completely. I just don't want to know what's going on in this world. Why? I'm not being happy. It's ruining me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just depressing
So-
day after day.
And I got
day
so
out.
obsessed with it so much, like even going back to history and reading history books and watching a lot of docus and different resources and blah blah blah. Why are we here right now? And what can we do? And what brought us to this position now? You know, but that's a completely different subject. I can talk about that for hours and hours if you want, but I'd rather
will
not
off the
because
record.
there's no need. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just want to live happy and not watch that.
Well, yeah,
so hey is
yeah.
a depiction of kind of what's going on if you listen to the words correctly.
Do you have a favorite song from Old Funk Soup? Some. I like.
They're all my little babies, you know, so it's like telling your children you're my favorite son.
I would do it.
Well, I mean, obviously some it depends, like playing live, I like certain songs more, you know, and there's listening, I like certain songs
So
more.
playing, for example, is there a specific one that?
I mean, I love Whiskey. Have you heard Whiskey? It's
Yes.
a song about my cat, but the funny part is that song's not really, it is about my cat, but there's a satire behind it, so there's a metaphor behind fascist dictatorship. Got a little funky cat, he's fat and flat, and he thinks he's so bad. On a rat, he just sat. He's just a freaking tyrant. But I put it into my cat, and I had a cat, Whiskey, which I love, and he passed on. So that was the hit of that album, and I like playing that one, so it's like... You know, whatever. So yeah, I enjoy that one because it's fun. It's fun to play. It's a lot of funk and
Yeah. Again, the reading the lyrics.
I mean, all my songs.
It was like,
depends.
just 8 lines, and I'm like,
Yeah, I'm not the best at lyrics. I just try to minimalize everything and make it read between the lines, like figure it out. You know, metaphors on that. I'm not the best lyricist, but whatever I could put. And
I mean-
I have a hard time with lyrics. I hate lyrics.
I mean, I'm gonna
Let's
be
stick with
absolutely
music.
honest here. Like reading the lyrics of the songs, there was a degree of mystery, but at the same time, they were straightforward enough that, you know, like some lyricists, the way they write, it's like it's a metaphor within a metaphor within a metaphor, and you just squeeze your head and try to understand what the hell he's talking about, and you misunderstand him. But no, your songs they hit home many times. There
That's
are many
good.
songs they hit home, and they're relatable. I
Good.
feel like
I'm
I
glad
feel
you feel that way.
a great, like, to me, a great song or a great artist is someone who people can relate to. Right?
Yeah.
So if you start, that's why I think that's why I never related to songs where people talk about driving Lamborghinis and living in big mansions.
Yeah, but there's some people who do.
Yeah.
Which is fine, you know. You
Yeah.
can't please everybody.
Exactly. So, no, your songs, I absolutely related to them.
Cool.
Many of them I did.
Nice.
But as a favorite was Down and Dirty. I mean,
Yeah,
being
I
a
like that
person
album.
who likes heavy,
Yeah.
I don't have a specific genre I listen to,
Yeah.
but I like heavy music.
Yeah, good.
I think I covered absolutely everything.
Good.
From start to end. Thank you very much for your time,
Thank you very much.
and I hope you enjoy watching.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
All the links will be in the description to Bandcamp, Spotify, and all the things in between.
Sweet.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.
You're gonna turn it all around. You gotta turn it